This video goes over the equation of a line. Every line that you see, you can write in the form y equals mx plus b. M represents the slope of the line, which is the steepness, and B represents the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the x-axis. So in our equation of the line, we have y equals mx plus b. M is our slope, and we find that using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. X and y are a point on the line, x and y, and then b is our y-intercept. So on a graph, if I draw a line just right here, using my arrows, I have this point right here. This represents my y-intercept, or my b. And then if I change colors, I can choose 2 points on the line, draw my rate triangle between my two. The height is going to be my delta y, rise is going to be my delta x, and I can find my slope using the change in y over the change in x. So let's take a look at how we can use the slope and the y-intercept to graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is state the slope and the y-intercept. So here, my slope is always going to be the number in front of the x. So in this case, it is 3. My y-intercept is always going to be the number at the end. In this case is 2. Now, just like we did before, I now have a point. My y-intercept is 0, 2. I can put that right on the graph. And then my slope is 3, or 3 over 1. So I now know my rise and my run, which tells me how to get to the next point. So up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Now I've got 2 points, which is enough to draw a line. Using my ruler, I extend my line across my graph and add arrows on the end. Okay, let's take a look at the second example. So now I have a number in front of the x. It's negative, and it's a whole number, so I can think of that as minus 2 over 1. But now I don't have anything at the end. If I don't have anything, that just means I'm adding 0. So my y-intercept must be 0, which is the point, 0, 0. So I can put that on the graph and use my slope to go to the next point. So down 2 over 1. Now I've got 2 points on my line. I can use my ruler, draw my line across the graph, add arrows on the end to show that I've now graphed my line. The last one here, now I've been circling the first number because that's the one that happened to be in front of the x. In this example, the x is at the end. So what I can do is I can rewrite it as y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Now it's in the format that I'm familiar with. My m is the value in front of the x, and my b is the value at the end. I now have a point to start at, and I know how to get to my next point, so I can put that on the graph. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm put on my y-intercept, and then I'm going to use my rise of 2 and run of 3 to get to my next point. Now I have 2 points, and so I'm going to use my ruler to go through, add arrows on the end, and now I've graphed my line using the slope and y-intercept. Let's look at a couple examples of actually writing the equation. So here I want to write the equation of the line y equals mx plus b. In my first example, m is -4 and b is 3. So I'm going to start off with my equation of the line in general, and then I'm going to replace m with my given value, and I'm going to replace b with my given value, which means that my equation is y equals -4x plus 3. In my next one, same thing. I'm going to start off with y equals mx plus b. I'm going to replace m with my given value, and I'm going to replace b with my given value. Now I've got plus -5, so I can just write that as x minus 5 as my final equation. The last one, now I've got a fraction for m. That's fine. I'm still going to end up doing the same thing. So I'm going to replace m with my given value, and I'm going to replace b with my given value. Now what I notice here is that b is 0. I don't really have to write that down. So the simplest form of my equation is y equals 1/2 x. In that example, I've given you both characteristics, the slope and your y-intercept. In some instances, you might have to find b. So there are 2 ways that you can do that. And the first one is by graphing. So let's take a look at this line. We've got y equals 2x plus b. That means that I know my slope is 2, which is the same as 2 over 1. So that's my rise and my run. And then I have a point, 3, 1, that's on the line. So I don't know my y-intercept, so I'm going to start at 3, 1. And then I'm going to use my slope to get to the next point. So 1, 2, and then 1, 1, 2, and then 1. And I'm just going to make sure I'm accurate, but when I count to the right, that takes me away from the y-axis. So what I'm going to do is go down to the left and follow the same pattern. Oh, that was too many. So left 1, down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1, down 2, and I come right to my y-axis there. So I'm going to graph my line and identify that my y-intercept is right here. So I can then replace the b with the value that I found, which is -5, which is going to give me an equation of y equals 2x minus 5. The second way that we can do is we could actually solve for b. So when you're writing an equation of a line, you've got 3 steps. Your first thing that you need to do is find m. In this case, it's given in the question. So I know that m equals 2. The next thing that I want to do is find b. And so now I know 2 things. I know that this is true, y equals 2x plus b. And I also know that my line goes through this point. What I can do is substitute in 3 for x and 1 for y, and I can actually solve the equation for b. So I've got 1 equals 2 times 3 plus b. I'm going to multiply 2 and 3 together. Now I've got a 1-step equation to solve. Remember that we solve that by doing the opposite operation. So I'm adding 6 on the right-hand side. So that means I need to take away 6 to get b by itself, which is going to tell me that b is equal to -5. My last step is going to be to write that equation. Y equals 2x minus 5, which is the same thing I got from graphing.